This is Amy Bearpaw Piper with Standing Rooted. I want to explore today what it's like when we try to create something in our lives, especially when it's something that we've tried to create or wanted to create and hadn't really been able to yet. Maybe we've tried a bunch of times, maybe we've tried in a whole lot of different ways, and we're still struggling to create what we want or let go of what we don't want, or both. So a lot of times when we think about what we want, we get a vision in our minds of what that's going to look like. It's going to be this house, it's going to be that partner, it's going to be, whatever it is that you're looking for, this job, and the job is going to be like this. And that's actually really helpful. And sometimes that's enough to really create something pretty great. But what if you've tried several times and it hasn't really worked out the way you wanted? Maybe it didn't work out the way you wanted because you got exactly what you thought you wanted, but it didn't feel like you wanted it to feel. Or maybe it just didn't work and you just couldn't seem to get anywhere. It seemed like you were putting a lot of effort in, spinning your wheels. Or maybe you were hoping that by having a vision, things would just happen without a lot of effort on your part or without a lot of actions on your part, and that didn't work out that way. Sometimes it does work out that way, and that's really awesome. Sometimes it doesn't. So what do you do now? Let's just think about that and take a look at it. Sometimes it seems like we're kind of approaching things upside down or backwards. And that's by having a very specific vision of what we want. I see this house and it's exactly like this, and I see this partner and this is exactly, he looks this way, she acts this way, she thinks this way, he has these political leanings, whatever it is that you're looking for. And again, those are really good things to be clear on. However, what if that's sort of upside down? What if we get the perfect partner according to our ideals, but yet somehow it's not really fulfilling what we want? How can that be? Again, let's draw our attention back to the possibility that we've approached this in a way that's kind of upside down or backwards. So what I mean by that is this. We can get a vision of what we want. And I know that there are a lot of people that say, oh, the more specific you get, the more likely you are to get what you want. And there is truth in that. From my view, there's truth in that. However, it means that you're going to get the vision that you want. But will you get the inner experience that you want? Which is usually what our vision is about. Our vision is usually about wanting to have a certain kind of inner experience. I'm going to say it again. Our vision is usually about wanting to have a certain kind of inner experience. And ultimately, a lot of times we end up not really caring that much what it looks like as long as we have that inner experience. We might think we'll care about it, but once we have that experience, we might be ready to start letting go of how it was supposed to look. So what if we start right side up? What if we put the creator, the creative image, the creative energy at the base, at the foundation, and realize that the roots of the plant, of the tree we want to grow or the garden we want to grow, come first. We need to be able to create strong, nourishing roots into nourishing soil in order to create a tree that we really want. So, how in the world do we do that? It's a really good question. So consider this. What if your destination was not a vision of something outward as much? It doesn't mean you can't have an outward vision, but what if we hold that lightly? And what we really connect with is the kind of soul that we want to be rooted into. So, what does that mean, Amy? Well, we want to root into divine qualities. And that's my phrasing for it. You might have another word. But I consider divine qualities to be those things that we know they're real. We experience them, or we experience the lack of them all the time. But they're not really tangible things that we can point to per se. So things like courage and wisdom and strength, compassion, empowerment, caring. Those are what I call qualities. And if you really get down to it in your heart of hearts, you may begin to notice that what you really want are qualities. Sometimes a quality that we want might be something like status or importance. And if that's true, some people might tell you that, well, you shouldn't want power or status or importance. But those are divine qualities. So what if you do want those things? What if that's a truth in your being? It could be due to some kind of wounding where you didn't have enough of that in the past. Maybe you didn't get respect. And you want respect. Well, then having respect would be a very healing quality for you. It would balance you where you're lacking, perhaps unconsciously even, in a sense of self-respect. So maybe that's a very wise and balanced desire. And in that case, you can embrace that. Absolutely. We all need respect. We need self-respect. It's a key quality. It's very important for us. And then once we gain that, we might find that we're more satisfied with ourselves, that we feel competent, confident, empowered, that we feel like we have a sense of sovereignty in the world. So what if we just today take a combination of qualities, just qualities that came to me today for us to work with. So maybe it will speak to some of you. And let's imagine that this combination of qualities is your destination. At this moment in time, this is a combination of qualities that you would really like to have. And you might have an idea of how that would look, and you can have that idea. You don't have to repress that or, but just what if you just kind of put that, it's like taking a pot and put it off to the side of the stove. It's still on the stove, but what you've got heated up is the qualities that you're looking for. And the vision of how that might look could be a pot that you put off to the side for now. It's something that will inform your destination. But the true destination is your inner experience. So I've chosen, again, 3 qualities today. Or they've chosen me, perhaps. And the 3 are simplicity, security, and nourishment. So whatever vision you have for yourself, just imagine that these 3 things, among other things that might be more important to you, but what if these 3 things were part of it? So let's consider simplicity for a moment. What is simplicity? What does that mean? Well, it's going to mean something different for different people. Because what I am gifted in and skilled in can be kind of complex and still feel simple to me. Whereas that might feel really difficult for you. Not being a naturally technically oriented person, some things that seem very, very basic and simple to a real techie kind of individual are going to feel really complicated to me. So simplicity is not a specific thing. It is a quality that I experience in certain situations and not in others, that you experience in certain situations and not in others. But what if instead of being concerned about how that looks, like in my mind, simplicity might mean I don't have a lot of technical things to deal with, or I have someone who does them for me. And that might turn out to be true indeed. But what if instead I simply ask for the quality of simplicity? What if I connect with my sense of the higher power, however I view that, my sense of allies, whether they're human allies or allies in the spirit world? Perhaps some of you might connect with angels, and those would be allies in the spirit world. Some of you might connect with animal or plant totems. Those would be allies in the spirit world. Some of you might connect with the Christ energy or Christ consciousness, and that would be an ally in the spirit world. So what if you connect with your allies in the spirit world and whatever you consider to be a higher power, and simply ask for simplicity? I want simplicity in my life. It means that whatever comes into your life is not going to feel complicated and hard. It doesn't mean that you won't be challenged in a valuable way that might even be fun. It just means that it's not going to feel like you're efforting so much that you're exhausted, irritated, frustrated. So perhaps the opposite quality from simplicity could be frustrated. It could be complicated. It could be hard. So instead of those anti-qualities, if you will, we're asking for simplicity instead. Again, it might be something that's, a crystal is complex. Imagine a crystal that you've seen. It has a complicated makeup in some ways, but it is such a clear makeup, and it creates this clear crystal. It might even be clear visually in the sense of a quartz crystal, a clear quartz crystal. It looks very simple, and yet its makeup is pretty complex. But it's not complicated. It doesn't feel difficult for the crystal to manifest itself. It just is. This is the truth of the crystal, the true nature of the crystal, and so therefore it's natural and simple. So let's just ask for simplicity and imagine that because we've asked for it, it will begin to come to us. We don't have to effort for it. We don't have to reach for it. We don't have to make it happen. We're just asking, and then see what begins to, see if anything changes, in the next, I don't know, minutes or days, weeks, in that way. So let's move along to security. What does security mean? Again, that's different to different people. For some people, security might mean, having a home and an extended family around them all the time. It might mean always being on firm ground. For someone else, security might mean, even a traveling lifestyle, because they carry security in a different way. So that person feels very secure if they have, a working automobile or legs that carry them from one place to another. If they have a heart that they feel connected to and a higher power that they trust, that can be a sense of security. We each need a different kind and a different level of outer things to reach a sense of inner security. And without mistake, sometimes the things that we need outside of ourselves to have a sense of security change. Sometimes they change their nature for us, or sometimes it's, just like if I really needed $1 million to feel safe, if I needed to have an investment of $1 million and have 100,000 coming in a year, and that left me feeling safe. But sometimes we shift and we find that we feel safe. That shifts to having a family that loves us, that we feel deeply loved by, very connected with. Or it may shift to a different level where, I really find that I'm perfectly satisfied with $50,000 a year. I thought I needed $1 million in assets and 100,000 a year, but I find that I'm really comfortable enough and safe enough with a very different sense of income and asset. So again, what if we put the Creator, what if we recognize that the roots are the basis of creation, and that the roots need to be rooted into deeply nourishing soil? And the deeply nourishing soil is the garden or the place where all of these qualities reside. So what would be the opposite of insecurity, the thing that we want to change or overcome? Insecurity, right? I mean, that's pretty evident. Chaos, confusion, perhaps, might be anti-security kind of qualities. A sense of being lost, a sense of disconnection. All of these things can be sort of an anti-security. So we want to ask, again, connect with your allies, connect with your higher power, and ask for security. Imagine your roots going deep into the soil of security. Rich, rich soil. Or imagine that you're driving a vehicle, or you're in a vehicle, and you've typed in, I guess, into your GPS the word security. So instead of the words, $70 million, I'm just making things up, but you type in security, because there are a lot of very, very wealthy people who feel deeply insecure. And there are some people who, by your standards, might have very, very little, and feel extremely secure in that. Of course, we need to have enough, whatever enough is for us. We do literally need to have enough to survive. Our survival instincts kick in, and we need enough security to keep our survival instincts from being on overdrive. But what we really need is a sense of security. So let's look at our third word, nourishment. And what does that mean? It might be a word you haven't thought much about. Nourishment is kind of like nurturance, and so nourishment operates on many different levels too. It can be physical nourishment, as in having clean air to breathe. That's essential to our nourishment. It's essential to our sense of security, because obviously if you can't breathe, you're not going to feel secure. You're going to be terrified. Nourishment also on the physical level includes healthy foods, things that nourish our bodies. It includes emotional nourishment. And if you think about a person that you have been in relationship with, whether it's in the present or the past, or even a pet, maybe a favorite grandmother, or, a place where you feel very nourished. Some people feel nourished at the beach or at the top of a mountain, sitting in their favorite chair in front of the hearth. These are places that can feel very nourishing for us. So sometimes we feel nourished by being in a relationship with a person or a place or a pet. Sometimes we feel deeply nourished by being in a relationship with, a spiritual being, like, for example, an angel or an animal totem, a plant totem. So just let yourself remember some places where you feel nourished, some relationships where you feel nourished. It might be a friend, it might be your partner. And notice what that feels like. It might be nourishing on many different levels. So you might feel emotionally nourished by being in a relationship with this place, this being, this person. And notice what that feels like for you, what it looks like. Notice what kind of thoughts you have in that place where you're being nourished. Probably not anxious thoughts. Your thoughts can kind of rest. Even if you're having a lot of, you might be having a lot of inspirational thoughts, but they're not draining thoughts, right? They don't drain you emotionally or physically. And then spiritual nourishment, what does that mean? I mean, for those of us who don't think of ourselves as, religious or, what is spirituality? What do we mean by that? Well, consider that could mean being in relationship with your spirit body, with the part of you that is spirit. And we've just been talking about some of the things that are spirit. Spirit is made up of courage and strength and nourishment. It's made up of security. It's made up of love and generosity and kindness. It's made up of empowerment. Those are spiritual qualities, and what I mean by that is a spiritual level of our being exists, and we know it does, because we know that we need those things. But they're not tangible. I can't feel, I can touch my leg and feel it. I can't touch my spirit and feel it in exactly the same way. That doesn't mean I can't learn to touch it and feel it, but it's going to be a very different experience because it's not tangible, or not as tangible. And then we might think of our heart and soul. And what do we mean by that? I mean, What if soul is that deep sense of stillness within us? That's a quality. That sense, that place from which our purpose arises. If you have any sense of purpose, anything that you'd like to contribute to the world, whether it's through, really being a great parent and raising a child in a particular way that you feel is important and valuable, whether it's something you do professionally or something you do for fun, for service, nonprofit service perhaps, any of that is a sense of purpose. And so what if your soul is the place where your sense of purpose arises and where you're nourished when you fulfill that sense of purpose, where you feel fulfilled when you express that sense of purpose, that deep stillness. And then, of course, I said heart and soul. So what is the heart then? Well, we know what the physical heart is, but we also have a heart system, and neurocardiologists are becoming more and more aware of this. Our heart system is a really intricate and amazing thing. On the physiological level, it sends more information to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. The heart's nervous system is a pretty amazing thing. And then on the level of electromagnetics, we know that the heart generates the most powerful electromagnetic field in the body. Our bodies generate an electromagnetic field. It's subtle, but it generates, it expresses a lot of who we are and affects who we are. So when you learn how to activate your heart system, you learn how to process emotion effectively. Sometimes we try to think our way through feelings, and we might have insights and inspirations, but really emotion can only be processed through the heart system. Trying to process it through any other system is like trying to use a hammer and a screw. They don't fit together. It just doesn't work. So activating the heart system strengthens the qualities that we most want. It allows us to receive. We actually can receive the divine qualities we want through the heart system. And we can talk more about this another time so that you'll understand more about it. But I just wanted to touch into that and offer that understanding as something to consider for the moment. And so we can actually learn to activate our heart system so that we can receive the qualities, the divine qualities that we most need. So in this case, we talked about today simplicity, security, and nourishment. So if any of those or all of those are qualities that you would like to have more of, please do just take a moment. Let's have a moment of silence where you can just ask, and don't worry about whether you feel connected to any sense of higher power or whether you've activated your heart system or anything like that. Just let yourself ask and kind of assume that because you're asking, that there might be a response. It's an experiment, Let's just see if this has any impact on you in the moment or any impact on you over the next few days, hours, days, weeks. So I'll just be silent and let you invite this in your own way. So today, simplicity, security, and nourishment are the things that we've set as our destination. And you'll see in the image, the beautiful, colorful balloon image that you're watching in the sky, that's a pretty simple thing, right? A balloon. That's one of our forms of transportation that's pretty old. It goes back a ways. It's pretty simple. What if you could feel security even if you were in the sky? Just like you could actually be jumping to a new reality in some way, something that's, a greater destination. So it feels like you're kind of taking off, but you feel secure in it because you have trust and faith. And I don't know about you, but I feel kind of nourished when I look at this balloon with all its colors, its shapes. When I look at the sky, it's a beautiful color with these kind of wispy clouds. That feels kind of nourishing to me. And I'm an artist. I'm very creative, so colors, are nourishing to me. And that may or may not be nourishing to you. But I think either way you can kind of see what I mean. So I really hope that you found something beneficial in this. I hope you've learned something of value. And I hope that you feel, just check in and see if you feel any different now than you did when we first started. You may or you may not. But just checking in to see. And, always feel free to share with me your experience. If there's something that you'd like to share with me about what happened for you or your thoughts or feelings about the teaching or meditation. I consider myself a transformational teacher, so I'm looking to help you to transform something into something you want more. And if you have any questions for me, please feel free to contact me through the email address that should be available on this site. And I will be delighted to pay attention and to respond personally. This is Amy Bearpaw Piper at Standing Rooted, and I wish all blessings upon you and upon those that you care about most.